Yeah, on that first drunk, it was, it was amazing. It was just everything I was looking for in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
It made me, feel smarter, better looking, and it did everything I needed it to do. It quieted that voice in my head saying I was less than, that I wasn't good enough. And but I got home, and right away my parents knew I was intoxicated. They didn't know on what. They thought I was on drugs. Foreshadowing. Not yet, but it was coming.
What's going on, y'all? It's your favorite podcast, Built by the Red Stick. Your boy, Ronnie, LeDuff, Michael Oakley are in the building. We got another fire episode. Give me one little pause for, a little sponsorship, and then we'll be right back to you.
And this episode is brought to you by Rayville Recovery Treatment Center. Rayville is about an 80-plus bed facility in North Louisiana, just about 3 hours north of Baton Rouge. It's the #1 co-occurrence residential treatment facility in the state of Louisiana. If you're struggling with mental health, if you're struggling with alcohol or drug abuse, give my people at Rayville Recovery a call. The number is 318-728-5488, and tell them I sent you. And I know you probably like, well, I want to get help, but that's 3 hours away. Don't trip. They got you. They will come pick you up. They will transport you all over from the state of Louisiana. I'm talking all four corners, even the central. They coming to get you. Admission is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All you got to do is call that number, 318-728-5488. And then you probably like, well, I want to get some help, but I don't have insurance. Don't trip. They got you. They even take uninsured people for help. No man or woman left behind. Call my beautiful people at Rayville Recovery today. Again, that number is 318-728-5488. Rayville Recovery. Recovery redefined. The journey starts with you.
All right, we're back, man. Listen.
I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know what you're doing either.
All right,
I
guys.
don't know what you're doing either. But we got a special one on our hands today. One a close friend of mine. But y'all know the routine. I got to alley-oop it to the best hype man on this side of the Mississippi. Damn it, this country, Mr. Ronnie LeDuff.
Yay! I missed it. I got it. I hit the mic. I knew I was going to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, squirrels and gerbils and blowfish and koi fish, we got Andy C. in the building. Now hold your applause. Wait a minute. I did it backwards. This is the closest I'll probably ever be to the president of the United States. This man is so secretive. I'm surprised that we even allowed to have him on the set today. If you look his name up in the dictionary or the atlas or wherever you look at a name, it just say person of interest. Like this is one of the smartest people that I know in recovery, and sometimes I question if he's really in recovery. I really think he's been planted here to figure out how his people in recovery operate. Industry plant. And then he reports back to the higher ups. But we have the pleasure, we have the honor, and we have a friend in him, Mr. Andy C. in the building.
Thanks, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Big fan of the show.
Yeah, we're a big fan of you. You know that?
Man, so we got, as Ronnie so elegantly placed, like I told y'all, very, very close friend of mine, Andy. For all of y'all who are just starting your journey out, I'm going to hype him up real quick because a lot of people find their journey to recovery,
right.
And as they're in recovery, sometimes they hear terror stories of people going to treatment 3, 4, 5, 15, 20 times. We got an example here that you can be one and done so far by the grace of God.
By the grace of God.
A unicorn. He went to Kentucky, one and done.
Were y'all together?
So he was right before me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we met when I told my story
That's what I was just
one
gonna
year.
say. I met Andy. He was the speaker for Family
Yeah.
Day.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's like a year, a year sober than me, but just a few months removed from sober living, and I missed.
No, because he stayed in sober living past a year.
10 months.
Oh, I thought you stayed past a year.
It was getting close. That was the goal, but man, sober living's tough.
Yeah, so I just missed him, but I had the pleasure of meeting him on a personal level through you.
Absolutely.
So I got to know him now, and it's been beautiful.
So just a little background. Won't you tell us just a little bit about yourself? Kind of first and foremost, before we get into like all the nitty gritty and stuff, like what led you to the place that you are today in life?
All right, my name's Andy. I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
My sobriety date is April 18th, 2018.
Man, we close.
Yeah.
5 days in a year and 5 days. I love it.
Yeah. I told my story while you were in rehab.
You must have just got there.
Yeah, so I got there in April, and he was the speaker like April 30th, I think Family Day was that year.
Something like that.
Yep.
But my journey to recovery, it took me a while to get there. I mean, from my very first drink of substance and consequence, I fell in love. It's funny because I'm good friends with the guy that I had that drink with. His name's Stanley M. And we met back up later in life in recovery, but we were in his backyard, and we had 2 bottles of Mad Dog 2020, and I promise you,
Mad Dog.
Shout out to
I
him.
promise you,
That was my
one
first
bottle,
substance.
one bottle would have done the trick, but I liked it so
Oh
much.
yeah, shout out Strawberry Banana MD.
Mine was Concord Great and Orange Jubilee. Fun fact: when you mix the two together, when it comes back up, it looks like blood. It looks like blood.
I thought you was gonna say you could spit fire like a dragon, because that's potent stuff.
You might have been.
For real.
Yeah, when it came back up, my parents thought it was blood, and they were ready to have my stomach pumped. Thank God for my brother. He's been my savior, most of my life. And
I didn't even know you had siblings.
yeah, I have an older brother.
That's crazy. Y'all the only two?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
I didn't know that.
And I have
Two of y'all.
2 stepsisters and a stepbrother.
See, I knew none of this. You kept that from me on purpose. Continue. I'm sorry.
But on that first drunk, it was, it was amazing. It was just everything I was looking for in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
It made me, feel smarter, better looking.
You needed that.
Yeah. Hey.
This is my dog, y'all. This is my dog. We gonna roast each other.
Right.
It's
right.
okay. It's okay.
Hey, I'm gonna take it easy on you today. But yeah. So it
Pour something in my back at the gym. Don't mind me.
I don't.
At the gym. I've been at the gym.
At the
y'all.
gym.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. It is, and it did everything I needed it to do. It quieted that voice in my head saying I was less than, that I wasn't good enough.
Yep.
And but I got home, and right away my parents knew I was intoxicated. They didn't know on what. They thought I was on drugs. Foreshadowing. Not yet, but it was coming.
It was coming.
But yeah, man. But that drunk, I was hungover for probably about a week after that. And, and all the consequences came. The next day at school was just miserable. Yes, they made me go to school throwing my guts up. They said, you go on to school and, and don't bother calling because,
How old were you again?
7th grade.
7th. Oh, you was an early bloomer.
Early. Very early. And,
About right. That was about right for me. I know you were a late
I was a
bloomer.
late
Yeah,
bloomer
yeah.
With sex and drinking.
Right. Well, but with that came all the consequences. They had me out there doing yard work, all the chores around the
I
house.
wanted you to sweat it out.
Yeah, exactly. And I was struggling, man. It was hurting. And but don't you know, the very next opportunity, which wasn't the next day or the next week or however long it took, I couldn't wait to do it again because of what it did for me.
Yep. Results.
And from my earliest drink, I've always been a blackout drinker. I mean, I've never known how to put the cap back on it. I just
0 to 100.
0 to 100, bro.
yeah,
Ain't no in
man.
between.
And so, knowing your story a little bit, you graduate from high school,
Right.
and you enlist in the Navy.
Correct. Yeah, and
Did you know he was a veteran?
I did know he was on a boat full of seamen.
Facts. Yeah. Thank you, Ronnie. Well placed pun. But yeah, and I found my crowd pretty quickly when I got to the Navy. When you drink like I do,
You fit right in.
yeah, well, you kind of find your place quickly.
Yeah,
You find the people that drink like you do. Because if they don't drink like you do, you just don't drink with them. Unless you're a designated driver or you're buying, we just don't hang out. And yeah, man, I went around the world twice and saw the sights. And I
Did you
wish
go past the ice wall?
no, there's no ice wall.
Really?
Really.
Dude, I have been on a TikTok tear. Don't get me started on this ice
This
wall,
dude,
bro.
don't, bro.
I'm telling you,
bro.
I will take over this episode.
Listen.
They're making me believe it,
Listen.
bro.
Listen. I will find a new co-host if you start believing the Earth is flat.
No, not flat. But that ice wall stuff starting to, bro. God dog it.
Anyway.
Keep going.
Anyway.
Moving on. But yeah, and while in the Navy, I dabbled in drugs a couple of times, but fear kept me from going down that route because the Navy frowns upon drug use, and they kind of have you by the contract.
Contract.
They have you by the contract, and so that kept me out of big trouble. But I got into some alcohol related incidents. I mean, I got charged with underage drinking on the base, and
Hell yeah.
and it is outside Louisiana. It is, but I didn't know that everywhere else in the world it was 21 already. While when I was 18, that was the legal drinking age of Louisiana. So
He just aged himself.
yeah, 53, just turned 53.
53.
Yeah, just turned 53.
I thought you was older than that. You look good for your age.
Thank you. I think you got that backwards.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I thought you was
Yeah, that was
a couple drinking incidents.
Couple of drinking incidents, exactly. But nothing major. I was good at my job, so it was able to be pushed under the rug.
What was that job?
I was a naval air crewman. We did airborne mine countermeasures. We would stream gear out the back of a helicopter and detonate mines in the sea.
Fire.
Yeah.
So I've been on PUBG lately. That sounds like some PUBG stuff.
Oh, you should check it out. It's pretty cool. It
Do
is
you ever
really
get to
cool.
go back for like career day and like tell your story to newer minemen?
I never even thought about doing that.
Minemans.
What else you call them?
Mine countermeasure air crewman.
All right. So
Yes,
But no, I've never done that. But that's interesting. I never even thought of doing
see
that.
what I'm saying? And you trying to laugh at me, bro.
no, I'm just talking about the name. I don't think it's called a mineman.
But a friend of my wife, she is in direct connection to the people that run the air show in Monroe, Louisiana, where I now live, and they're trying to get my old squadron to show up.
See, that's fine. Didn't they just have a air show there and somebody crashed? Or that wasn't in Monroe?
That was in Monroe.
You seen that? This was like recently.
I'm not sure.
He watches so much TikTok.
TikTok.
I know.
So much TikTok.
Yeah,
TikTok. If you listening, hey man, we Bill by the Red Sticker, huge fans. We'll take a little, a little blue check.
Yeah.
We'll take a blue check. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
give my man a blue check.
Give us a blue check, man.
So when did you leave the service?
I got out June 10th, 1996.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it checks out with the 53. So but yeah, I really hit the ground running. I got back and a bunch of my friends were into the the party drugs, ecstasy.
Yes, Lord.
I found
96.
cocaine.
It's like 4 million bottles.
I found cocaine and I guess I found a friend with cocaine for a while.
Yeah.
Even though looking back on it, I don't believe I ever liked it. I just did it.
Yep.
But
That's how meth was for me.
yeah. See, I would never do meth on purpose because I'm not a scumbag. And what kind of world are we living in where you can't trust somebody who's giving you free drugs? They slipped me meth and told me it was cocaine.
They was
Bastard.
trying to have sex with you.
I hope not. It was a couple of dudes, so.
They was definitely trying to have fun with you.
But Yeah, and as soon as I did it, I mean, it was like my head caught on fire and just an
So this
explosion.
is as soon as you did meth.
Yes.
That was the pure stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, and it was like the secrets to the universe were unlocked.
Yeah, and a disclaimer, y'all: we're not romancing or fantasizing a drug. This
No,
is just Mr. Andy
just
telling his
just
story.
the experience.
We're
And
not trying to trigger anybody, so this is
Right.
a warning that we're gonna dive deep. All right, go
right.
ahead,
Yeah,
Mr.
if,
Andy.
if you let me continue, it gets bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that first experience, man, it was like, man, I could calculate the distance to the sun. You know,
That's what I'm
I
talking
could see the wiring under the board. I just, there was no thought that I had that wasn't the greatest thought ever. And it really
I
did.
hated meth.
did too.
I hated it.
I did it too. I did.
I hated speed.
Yeah.
I wanted to drown my sorrows in emotional bubble wrap.
Yep. Yep. And the
Right.
drug of choice was perfect for me.
Yeah.
Hey, man. I mean, we all have our preferences.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I mean, for many years, my first love was alcohol.
Yeah.
I mean, it cured what I needed. But when the first time I tried meth, it really
You didn't try it.
right.
You was
Yeah, I got roofied.
like,
It was
yeah, there
it
you
was
go. That's,
it was
that's the word I
it was
I
roofie
using
meth.
the wrong R word, but it was
It was roofie meth.
definitely roofie.
But yeah, man. After that first time, I think I knew I was going to do that for the
where
rest
it
of
was
my
at.
life.
That's what I was finna ask you. So, at what point did the liquid alcoholic
I mean,
take
it
a
was
back seat?
it was the meth was recreational in the beginning, but it didn't take long to ramp up to a daily usage.
Because, like you say, you felt like you could be productive, and you was getting a lot of. At least you thought
Exactly.
you was getting a lot of stuff done.
I was moving
Figuring
I was
cracking
moving
the
around a
code-
lot.
Yeah, cracking the code to the universe.
Was this when you were working on the railroad?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wait,
that was,
you worked on the railroad? That ain't John Henry?
I've worn many hats. The railroad also frowns upon drug use, and I failed a drug test, and they offered me. They said you can keep your job, go to rehab, stay clean for the rest of your life, and you can stay here. And I was like,
I'm
don't-
good.
I'm not ready for that. You know, I was still
So how old were you when this happened?
30.
So okay.
Yeah, this was 97?
No.
I started on the railroad in '98,
Okay.
and yeah, it was still recreational when I was on the railroad, but it was ramping up. I'm an electronics technician by trade.
Got you. Okay.
From
All right.
you know what I learned in the Navy, and yeah, it blended right nicely with the job I do. Where I
So, all of that's good and stuff, but the man that you have become today, right? So, like, we'll start with the catalyst, the event that brought you to recovery and brought you into my life.
what we were like, what we were like, what happened, and what we're like now.
Yeah.
I think as the big book says,
Start at the gas station when you were asleep. Oh, no. Start before that.
that's exactly where it started.
Hey!
One night I found myself. It was a work night, so
It's always a work now.
Always.
I was, of course, I was perpetually low on gas, and I knew I needed gas to make it to work the next day. So I coasted into a Cracker Barrel in Port Allen, Louisiana, where I was living at the time.
Shout out Seth H, my partner from over there, you know. Big
Right.
Seth.
Yeah, shout out.
I don't know, Seth.
You'll have to introduce you. He run a lot. He's a runner. He be doing like marathons and stuff. Nipples be bleeding and stuff because he runs so much.
Dang.
I know.
That's a lot of running.
See me running like that, get a gun, 'cause somebody's chasing me.
Hey, man, I know that's right.
But yeah, and I'd been on a typical run, probably 5 or 6 days, no sleep. And when I pulled in, I was on fumes, truck and body.
I was just about to say both, a double
Right.
whammy.
And I think as soon as I put it in park, my body went into sleep mode because I'd been struggling to stay awake while I was driving on my way there. And I woke up to tapping on the window. It was, some of West Baton Rouge's finest. And
That's a
apparently they had met people like me before because all the things I was saying, they weren't falling for.
Yeah.
And, one thing led to another, and, they caught me with a pretty sizable amount of methamphetamines, and we're going to jail. And I spent, I think, 3 days. It was very fuzzy.
You slept the whole time.
I did,
Yeah.
absolutely. There was so much chaos in there. Sleep was the best thing for me.
Yeah.
But I was awoken to them saying, you made bail. And I walked outside of the West Baton Rouge Parish Prison, and there was my mother, my father, my stepfather, and my brother. And they gave me a basic choice. They said, you can go to rehab, or you can walk home. And I was about 8 miles as the crow flies from my house, and I didn't feel like walking.
What that mean?
Straight line.
Straight line.
All right.
Yeah. And
So you don't have to go the roads.
Right, making turns.
Yeah.
So you
going through ditches and through
Gotcha,
fields.
Gotcha.
So if he took the shortest route, it was 8 miles away.
And so a crow flying straight line.
Yes.
So what's that bird that be circling?
Not necessarily does it fly in straight lines, but if it wanted to get to a destination, it wouldn't have to go. It wouldn't have to follow roads. It could just fly straight to it.
Yeah.
Ah.
It's just a saying.
All right. Teach me something.
Yes, Lord. And listen, I don't know Andy while he was getting high, so I don't know. But I know early sober Andy, and early sober Andy was a ornery, just a
What's that?
angry, just a grumpy, just
See, I didn't meet that age.
just a grump,
Yeah, I didn't
Well,
meet that age.
a grump.
To be fair, I was surrounded by kids. They're all in there on Medicare or Medicaid or whatever.
Oh, so you a commercial person, huh?
Well,
I was a Medicaid baby.
look, this was my view on it. I thought that I was better than for some reason. I thought because I was able to hold down a job, because I was a functional alcoholic, that somehow made me a top tier alcoholic. I didn't know I was so wrong. I mean, and I'm real grateful to my friend Michael, who I met at that treatment center, and many of the people and the employees that worked there that had seen people like me and were able to just brush my
Arrogance.
arrogance.
Yes,
Yes,
arrogance.
to be able to brush that off and allow me to feel my way through it. I was feeling my way through it like a bumper car. I was hitting every wall, and that leads to. I don't remember the exact timeline because I was still in that haze. But Michael,
You ever heard the first day he met me?
No.
I think that's for a different podcast.
No, you gotta tell him this story.
Okay,
Just
well,
don't,
Yeah.
just don't use names.
We love stories.
I met a guy on the first night, and he was, he seemed to be a nice guy. Had a good vocabulary. He seemed to be an intelligent guy.
Was he bald head?
No.
No,
I
this
didn't
is
meet him yet. I
at
know
the
who you're
house.
talking about.
This is at the house.
Okay.
But yeah, and I didn't realize that he was, looking for friends because he had burned a lot of bridges apparently at that point. But I thought he was a nice guy, and we had conversations that night, and he gave me the day one. This is what's going on, debriefing, and I was grateful for it. Well, this was, I think, April 19th, the day before your wedding.
Was I there the whole day, or did I leave?
Come on, Michael.
I think it might have been.
I'm 1 day removed from
I got.
drugs.
I think it was actually. When's your sobriety date?
April 18th.
Okay, I think it was actually the day of my wedding.
Could have been.
So I think it was April 20th.
Could have been. But I'm sitting in our group session, and in walks Michael. And I'd never laid eyes on him, but I had heard about him. They said he was fiery.
Yeah, I know.
And he comes in and he goes to this guy and just undresses him in front of the whole group. I mean, just told him, he called him everything but a good Christian.
I don't believe that.
And I'm thinking, what kind of person would come in and just berate a person like that? And such a nice guy, I thought. Later did I learn that this guy was kind of a POS, and he was manipulative, and he was doing the same thing to me at the time. But God bless him. I hope he's sober.
Yeah.
I don't know where he's at. But,
Yeah, God bless him. What's his name? I thought I could catch you up.
but moving on.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks in, and actually, let's go to the night before. A good friend of ours, Dominic, he pulled me aside. He saw that I was kind of struggling with the whole, I was new. I didn't speak the language. I didn't know.
First time ever.
First time in rehab. I didn't know the rat race and how to run it. And he pulled me aside, and I think not only to help me, but to help himself, because he knows how this program works. He had some success at that point, be it fleeting, but he said, "Hey man, how about you and I we get into the book?" And I was like, "Good man, yeah, let's do that." And I remember, I think it's Bill's story, page 8. The first thing that Bill wrote that really I connected with. He speaks of that bitter morass of self-pity, quicksand stretched out all around me, and that's exactly where I was at that moment. And I read that, and I was like, that's where I am right now. That bitter morass of self-pity, quicksand stretching out all around me. And it caught my attention, and we kept reading, and we got into we agnostics, and he started, telling me about how, a God of my choosing. It didn't have to be that God that I had been, fearful of my whole life. That God of judgment, that God of justice. And he told me it could be a God of forgiveness and a God of love, and that's what I needed at that moment. And I remember I went into that little sober living bedroom, to my little twin bed, and I got on my knees for the first time in my life. I'd never prayed before. I'd never gone to God. I think I was, at that moment, I was the true definition of an agnostic. I wanted there to be a God, but I couldn't believe in a God that would believe in a wretch like me.
Yeah.
And
preaching.
Amazing
Right.
grace.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
But I got on my knees for the first time in my life, and I prayed, and I didn't know any prayers. I said, God, please help me. I can't do this alone.
That's the perfect one.
And I can go back to that moment, the tears in my eyes in that very moment. And the sleep that I got that night was that deep, regenerative, just good sleep. And that was the first, I'm a meth addict, and I'd done meth for 18 years daily. And that was the first good sleep I had in such a long time. And the next day, I was in the halls of that little charm school rehab, and in pops old Michael, and he goes, "Hey man, your insurance isn't going to cover you for the full ride. We're going to have to phase you up early." I'm like, I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? He goes, "Well, you're going to sober living." I was like, he said, "Are you ready?" I was like, "No." He goes, "Well, we can probably hide you on the books for a couple of days, but get ready. This is coming." And for the next 2 days, that's a Monday morning, the next 2 days, I am just a nightmare to deal with. Because like I said, I have this sense of entitlement because I pay for my insurance. I've got a job. I've got Blue Cross. What do you mean they won't pay for it? And anybody who will listen to me, I'm giving it to them. And,
bullshit.
and nobody wants to hear it. And we end up in a little exercise. Most people would recognize it as fears, cares, and concerns. I think we called it. Yeah, I think we called it something different that day because it was due to the Oscars, and it was the rehab awards or something.
Oh, the
meat show.
No, it was called the Grovies.
Something like that. Well, okay, we've named the rehab, but
I don't care.
I don't mind. But so we're in there, and I'm in the middle, and everybody's telling me about me, and I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it at all. And the owner was sitting in on that session. The owner and Michael were in there, and he said, "What seems to be the problem?" I said, "Well, the only thing keeping me sober is being here, and I'm about to be phased up early." And he goes, "Oh, so you want to stay?" And I had to take a beat and think about it. And I was like, yeah, I want to stay. And he goes, "Well, all right, we'll keep you." And I was like, wow. So then, all that, no matter how you look at it, the guys that are there on Medicaid, Medicare, for whatever reason they're there, their bill's being paid.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I just got put below that. I'm the charity case.
You're a scholarship now.
I'm the less than. And that brought me down a peg. And I needed that. And, we can fast forward to me being able to process this moment. I wasn't able to do it right then. I'd like to say that, from that moment on, I was, a spiritual giant, but that's just not true. But later on, I was able to process that moment. And that was my first true spiritual experience. That was God reaching down and giving grace. Grace is defined as undeserved favor.
Unmerited favor.
And I think I was clear. I was not deserving of this favor. Yeah. But I went to God and I asked him for his help. And I believe in a God that's big enough to correct and fix an insurance problem behind the scenes without me needing to see it. But what would I learn?
Yeah.
How would I grow from that moment if I didn't see God, working through a flawed man by anybody's account, a flawed alcoholic just like the rest of us. But, God working through that man's hand and extending me that grace that I needed in that moment and to bring me down a peg because I really needed that. But that was my first true spiritual experience. And
so with time on the forefront of my mind, with some questions that I have,
sure,
drop a little bit of the overcoming and kind of a guy who is hopeless to a guy seeking recovery who's entitled to now the man you are today.
Okay, skip ahead to 4 months in. I've probably only worked step 1 at that point, but I worked the steps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was a tough cookie, bro. He was a tough cookie.
Yeah. It was about 4 months in, and I went and got a sponsor, worked the steps, and to be fair, I didn't think they were going to work. I mean, nobody. I don't know anybody on their first go round who believes.
It was my 6th go round, and I didn't believe it was going to work.
Right.
I was just desperate. I was going to try anything.
I think it was the intersection of my life of my age and all the consequences. If it didn't work, I was going to lose my job. I was going to lose, everything. Yeah. And so it was that gift of desperation at that moment in my life where I saw all those guys who were repeat offenders, and I just couldn't have that. Yeah. There was too much at stake. But I worked the steps, and magically they worked. Promises start coming true. You hear about all these promises. Well, they're not a promise to me until I see them work. Yeah. Or these extravagant promises. Heck yeah, they are. Every single one of them is extravagant the first time you hear them. Yeah. But when you start coming true, then no longer are they extravagant. They're true promises, and they when they start working in your life, and when you work the 12 steps in order with a sponsor, stopping at 12, leaving that 13th step alone for a while.
I'm married, so
right.
I did it the right way.
Well,
I successfully 13th step.
I did it by suggestion, so yeah.
Yeah. Well,
it's as long as you end up with a skint cat.
Funny story. It's funny story, and you're gonna understand why it's funny.
Right.
Mike and my counselor suggested that I abstain from sex for 90 days. That's very funny, right?
Only 90?
Yeah, well, I ended up going a year.
Okay.
I seen a 90 and raised them. 6, 7,
well, that's amazing.
4, 6.
365.
And carried them 9 more months.
365 days.
Yeah. I seen they 3 months and raised them 9 more.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Tough to do.
It was hard. Hey,
you're a handsome guy.
I'm gonna tell you how I did it off the air. My mama didn't watch it.
Right. Yeah, we don't need those details.
yeah.
But yeah, I worked the steps, and they worked, and and I kept on. It's like if you look at it in video game terms, each of those things, each of those suggestions is like leveling up. It's like making you stronger. I got a home group. I got a sponsor. I worked the steps. I got a home group. I got a service position. I got sponsees. And each time it made me feel like, it was less of me pretending recovery. I was actually recovering.
Yeah.
And
yep.
Yeah, man. And I started becoming, I was going to my old rehab and bringing meetings, to the sober living house and stuff like that,
And telling your story.
telling my story. Yeah,
Yep.
that was when I made a year and told my story. 200 people in that room.
I remember you talking about how nervous you were.
Whoo,
I remember.
Jack! I looked out and I was like, oh,
I remember.
this is
so
real.
You was the first story I heard, and then it was Boston.
Yeah.
That was my first two storytelling introduction
stories.
to recovery.
Good stories.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
he tells as well.
Yep.
But yeah, man, and life is going good. I've regained my status at work. They now trust me. Well, at that moment they were trusting me, and it was weird because they even asked me to go sit in on an employee who they thought had a drug problem, and he did. And I wish that his story would have wound up better because they ended up letting him go because he didn't want to take what they were offering. They just wanted him to go to rehab and recover and keep his job. And he had done that a few times, and he wasn't ready to do that again. But I was able to sit in on that meeting and point out the fallacy of some of the stuff he was saying, and he realized that I knew what I was talking about, and he realized that he wasn't going to get away with just telling stories.
And see, back then, and I say back then, not as far as our age, but like our sober time, the stigma that came along with treatment and therapy was way worse than it is now.
Right.
That's why I think it's a great thing, like what we doing with Built by the Red Stick.
Yeah.
People like you telling your stories around because it opens up that door for people to get comfortable. He probably was scared of the judgment and you know what I'm saying, what people gonna think of me and all that. Because when I first came to treatment, black people didn't go to treatment. And if they did, they didn't talk about it. So, you know what I mean? It was like me and a few
I remember you
workers
saying that before.
Yeah,
many times.
that was a thing. That was a real thing. And now you look around, it's blended. It's a beautiful thing. Not saying I had something to do with it, but I remember.
But you're part of it.
I remember when it was like you and a couple staff members. You know what I'm saying? One in treatment, a couple worked there, and that was it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But yeah, like I said, life was going well. I mean, I had I had some good sponsees, and I sponsored, and not that I had anything to do with it, but the guys that I were sponsoring, they were attracted to my recovery, and they were able to duplicate that in their own lives, through their own hard work because, I was still relatively new in recovery. But I was just willing to show up.
Right.
And ask, when I didn't know the answer to something, my pride didn't prevent me from going asking the question to help them out.
Yep.
But I sponsored some guys to some meaningful, time.
Absolutely.
And then I met a girl.
Hey, it's
met a
always a girl.
Yeah.
This is a good I met a girl story.
Oh, mine's too.
Yours is too.
Mine's too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I met a girl, and she lives in Monroe, Louisiana, love of my life. We dated for several months, and I think right at a year.
You broke your contract. Oh.
There was no contract. No. But we dated about a year, and then we decided that we wanted to be married and spend the rest of our lives. We built a house, and I moved to Monroe. And it's weird because, I got to Monroe, and, she asked just a simple question, but my pride answered it. She asked,
"Who's that black dude be calling your phone?"
She's curious about that too. No, but she said, well, back when you were living in Baton Rouge, you were going to about 4 meetings a week. Do you need 4 meetings a week still? And I was like, nah, I'm good. I don't need that. And to be honest, I didn't know what I needed, but I wanted to believe that I had this.
Yeah.
And I started going to less and less meetings, and when it ended up, I was going to maybe 1 meeting a week, showing up right on time, leaving right after the Lord's Prayer.
Yep.
And I wanted to keep my old sponsor from down here. But here's the problem. There's 200 miles in between us, and I'm not calling him. So I'm sponsoring myself at that point. And I might be a decent enough sponsor to other men, but
Not to yourself.
for myself, I'm not good because
Yeah.
every thought I have, I think's amazing.
Yep.
And when I'm not running that by somebody else, it can get pretty sick pretty quick.
Yes, Lord.
So there was arguing at home, and a lot to do with me, and it's not knowing how to be a married man.
Yeah.
I made it 49 years on my own, making my own decisions and deciding only for me. And
I mean, it's also a change in life, right? Like, I mean,
Right.
with change comes
Right.
change,
Yep.
and not always do we know how to handle it.
and wanting everything my way,
Yeah.
and not being flexible.
Yep.
But yeah, man, I found myself going to a meeting, and I don't know how close I was to my next drink, but I do know I was traveling towards it rather than away from it. And I did what I knew to do. I went into a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I just spilled my guts, man. And right after that meeting, 3 guys came to me, and they said, "Hey, man, my name is this. Here's my phone number. Call me." And we talked for 30 minutes to an hour after that meeting, and I got to know them, and I saw that they were genuine, and I saw that they meant what they said. So I did, and I got I got a new home group. It's the Monroe Men's Meeting of Monroe, the Monroe Men's Meeting.
Monroe, fun row.
Front row.
And it's a good solid meeting with some good recovery in it, and I started plugging into there, and I ran for a service position and was, I didn't get it, and the guy that got it, I think he's excellent at his job, and there's no animosity about that, but I actually wanted the position and thought that I could, be good at it, and I'm willing to do it if ever, they ask me to, to run again. But yeah, man, it's only through what I've learned from my mentors on how to behave as a man and as a man in recovery
Absolutely.
that I've been able to.
So, what do you attribute to like one of the most, like obviously you've had a lot of profound growth, a lot of profound growing experiences, a lot of profound moments. What do you contribute to like your drive to overcome, right? So like me and Ronnie always talk about like our why. So like what's your like contributing factor? Like what inspired you, and then what is like a reason why? Because like I'll be honest, you embody a healthy member of a 12-step fellowship, like you do. And I know we all have our our up and down, our peaks and valleys when working in the program. We're not going to be 100% all the time, but you embody like somebody who like does the fucking shit. I know y'all aren't cussing, but I like to drop a little F-bomb to really emphasize it because you are. I enjoy our relationship, our friendship, like our conversations. I trust you. I know as we've gone through our journey, we've had these moments where like you kind of, for lack of a better term, I'm gonna say looked up and then became peers and then became friends and then became brothers. And so like I look up to you or look, excuse me, like I look at you as like a confidant and a friend. So what do you attribute to like your growth, your motivation?
I think initially it was the fear of failure, and but it was through the steps, working the steps, and giving it the best I could, which and at the time, it was the best I got, best I had to offer, but it was the growth in the steps, and me seeing the promises come true, and then, but the biggest attribute was after I started sponsoring and starting to help other men, lead them through this, and not as a better than or a less than, but as brothers in it.
By silent thing, altruistic movement.
And watching the growth of other people coming out of the depths of despair and just, not not just alive, but having lives worth living.
Yep.
Things that they were proud of, and just to be, the smallest part of that, of that happening, just to be of service.
Yep.
My longtime mentor and sponsor, Brian P., he always preached service. Service, service, service. If you can give of yourself and not expect anything in return, that's the greatest gift you can give.
Yep.
And as it happens right now, I'm in town for a couple weeks, and I'm able to be of service to my mother. My mother lost her husband of I think almost 30 years, back in January, and she's depressed. I mean, because she
my best friend.
She lost her husband,
Yeah.
whom she loved dearly, and just to be staying with her and just to be a companion to her is so fulfilling for both of us. I'm able to be the son I always wanted to be,
Yep.
and she's able to see the son that she raised finally gets it.
Yep.
And it's finally on the right track, and it is a contributing member of society.
Yep.
And I got my 2 dogs there with us, and she loves my dogs. I can't wait to go back home to my wife. I miss my wife dearly, and get back to my old life. But right now, just being of service, and I'm able to spend time with my old sponsor, Brian P. He's no longer able to drive, and he's going through some health issues. But he and I were making 2 or 3 meetings together a week. I've been going to meetings almost every day, and I've been able to go to my old meetings, the ones that
That substance.
Where you started.
Where it started. Where it
Yeah.
said.
hell yeah, and actually go in there and bring a message of hope
Hell
to
yeah.
newcomers. And it's been so fulfilling being back here for these couple weeks I've been here. And man, life is good.
We glad to have you. So I was checking the chat just now while you was talking, and one of the people wanted to know if you named your 2 dogs Woody and Buzz Lightyear. And they said that if you didn't, you missed your opportunity.
Well, one's name is Ace, so
Okay.
close enough.
Richard. That would have been you. That would have been so
it's-
tight.
You
it's-
should have named them Woody and Buzz.
Woody and
and Buzz
Buzz.
Lightyear.
Woody and Buzz.
That
And
would've been
little
fun.
Andy.
I didn't think about it.
God,
Hey.
you missed it.
Who I almost said a horrible joke that I seen on TikTok. Remind me to tell you this joke off camera.
got
Oh my God.
Man, well, we appreciate you joining. Before we wrap up, anything you'd like to tell our listeners who maybe be struggling or just getting into this, like any words of it is. But any words of inspiration?
Yeah, man. For those first timers, if you're in there and you don't know what they're talking about because all these words are just new to you, you don't know the vocabulary, just, hang in there, find somebody, find your peer group, find that group of guys.
Yep.
Like I did. There's a group of guys that I met in rehab that, Mike's part of that group, even though he was at the rehab, but he wasn't a client. He was an employee, but that's where I met him. But there was some other guys in there that were, we were all pulling in the same direction, and we just clicked, and we kept propping each other up and holding each other accountable, and just listen, and all the things. Get a sponsor, work the steps, get a home group, get a service position. If you can do those things, man, it gets better and it gets easier, and it becomes less of things you have to do and things you get to do now.
Absolutely.
You got any parting questions?
Nah, he killed it, bro. A lot of this I knew already, a few of it I didn't, but just to see how, and a little bit off what you said, how dependable, reliable, how you stay calm and collected. You even kill, it's a true testament to how much work you actually put in yourself in. I can't picture the other Andy, even the stuck up, arrogant, because you are one of the most selfless people that I've met in the program.
Thank you.
And you'll give your shirt, I've literally seen you give your shirt off your back to somebody.
So 2 stories.
Yep. Go ahead. Ruin my beautiful story I just gave.
No. It's to feed into what you were talking about. So story number 1, Andy's like, I don't know, maybe 5-6 months in. I don't know how long it was, but he's in OP. He's in outpatient.
Right.
So it's 1 day a week, and he comes in and he is just bitching about everything. I mean, just laying it
Going
on
off.
thick. And so, like in the middle of the group, I like bring up a chair or something, and either I stood on it or I got him to stand on it.
I think you stood on it.
I stood on it, and I was like, "Oh man, I see why you like it up here on this soapbox." And then the other one, I'm in aftercare, so I'm teaching education for aftercare. There's like 60, 70 people in there.
Aftercare used to be lit, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm going and I'm talking, and is when I used to run men's sober living houses. And he was he was a house leader at one or something. I don't even know if he was the house leader yet, honestly. And he goes, Mike, what do you think about taking one of the beds out the room? I don't even have time to I don't even have space to pray.
Oh yeah.
And he just thought he got me.
I had him against the ropes. I thought.
He got me, and I just hit him with the God don't make too hard of terms for those who earnestly seek him.
Pray in the living room.
Yep, pray in the living room. You can lay on your stomach and pray too.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can lay on your stomach and pray.
Yeah. Pray in the living room. He told me.
Dude, I've been waiting to drop it.
Okay.
And it almost forgot me. We got a website.
We do have a website.
We have a website now, ladies and gentlemen.
We do have a website.
Shout out to Baby Cakes. Put the website together.
We did.
Built
She
by
did.
theredstick.com.
Yes.
You can now go to builtbytheredstick.com.
If you want to be a guest, there's inquiries to be a guest. If you want to sponsor,
Yep.
If you want to donate, if you want
Yep.
to shop our shirts,
If you want to learn just a little bit about us behind the
Yep.
scenes, we
Yeah,
even got
man.
a spot for that.
yes, go check it out.
Builtbytheredstick.com, baby.
We'll
Where all your dreams come true.
We'll put
So I get a free shirt for being on the show, right?
yes,
Well,
Okay.
that's the man right there.
sure.
There you go. Hey, man. Hey, man.
Free publicity.
And there you go. There you go. Take it up that fun road.
There you go.
Y'all make sure to do us a favor.
Please.
Like,
Hey,
share,
share.
subscribe.
Ooh.
If you've missed that, like, share, and subscribe.
It's free to support, bro.
It is.
It's so
it
free
don't
to
cost you
support.
nothing. It don't cost
love
you
don't
nothing.
cost a thing. And for all my people out there like me, that's frequent flyers, that's been the 6+ inpatient, 20+ detox, that didn't get it right like Mr. Perfect Andy over here the first time.
Never too late.
We get you. We get you. We understand. We are here for you. We love you. We see you. We want to support you. We want to love you until you can love yourself. We want to see you become that son, that father, that uncle, that auntie, that niece, that daughter, that side piece. Whatever you want to be the best. Not the side
not the
piece.
side piece.
All
Not
right.
the side piece.
I got carried away. I'm sorry. I just want whatever you meant to be great at it. And Built by the Red Stick is here for you. So you can reach us at builtbytheredstick@gmail.com. We got we got an email. Hey, they better stop playing with us.
Gotta stop
they better
playing.
stop playing with us.
Gotta stop playing.
You can reach us at TikTok, Built by the Red Stick, Facebook, Built by the Red Stick, and then be sure to go visit our newly launched website, builtbytheredstick.com.
Instagram
And we got Instagram, Built by the Red Stick,
and YouTube.
and YouTube, Built by the Red Stick.
All streaming platforms.
Spotify, Apple Podcast app, and YouTube.
And you can find our Built by the Red Stick theme song on Apple
Spotify,
Music.
Apple Music, YouTube. Just type in Built by the Red Stick. It's going to pop up. And look, when you see us in public, hug me, hug him. He like to be kissed on his neck, though. I don't know why. It's weird.
Don't-
hug him, sniff him, kiss him.
Don't hug me. You can dab me down. I'm not a big hugger.
Nah, but seriously, we love y'all, man.
And, Ronnie talked about, those of y'all who maybe it's not your first time. For those of y'all who it is your first time, it can be done. For those of y'all who's fifth time, it can be done.
Yep.
And for those of y'all who got sobriety and battling with mental health, man,
Yep.
it's
They're
not,
struggling.
it's not, don't be afraid to ask for help, man.
My numbers all over the internet. Like,
Don't be afraid to
you
ask.
know what I'm saying? Hit me up. Like, I answer all times of the night.
Now, I know we just went on a tyrant, but that's okay.
A tangent.
Tangent.
A tyrant, man. We trying to take over and control with force. And
Okay,
violence.
we went on a tangent.
Yeah.
My bad. But unfortunately,
Kill y'all out there.
Unfortunately, our time with Mr. Andy and for this week's episode of Built by the Red Stick has come to an end.
I hate it.
Just passed. Happy 4th of July, everybody.
Yes.
Shout out America.
Actually, it's today. Well, we recording today, like on Monday, but this episode is actually airing on 4th of July. 4th of July is a Friday.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, it's not.
July 4th is Friday.
Is it really?
If I'm right, you know what you got to do.
Is it really?
Every heart beats true to the red, white, and blue.
July 4th is Happy July 4th.
Happy July
y'all.
4th.
Happy 4th.
All right. Take us out,
firework.
Ronnie. Take us out, Ronnie. Our time has come.
Hey, we did it already. We love y'all. We see y'all. We appreciate y'all. Everything we do is for y'all. We thank y'all for letting us get vulnerable with y'all every week in y'all living room, in y'all kitchen, in y'all car, in y'all office, and while you're working out, while you're on the treadmill, wherever it may be. Be sure to tune in again for next week's episode of Built by the Red Stick. Built by the Red Stick, baby. Built by adversity, led by courage.
We'll be the same time,
Oh, my
the
God.
same place, and the same producer. I got to do it. He forgot. I got to do it.
I'm so nervous.
Love y'all.
Andy in here. I'm
See y'all
nervous.
later.
We love y'all.
Built by the Red Stick, baby.
Oh.